What it do, guys? Alright, so today is actually my day off from a 9 to 5, but I've been dealing with setback after setback after setback, and I really thought that today would be the day where I go and print out my shirts so I can sample them, like have the designs on them. But lo and behold, another setback because there's a miscommunication. The print shop's not open today apparently. So now I don't know where I'm gonna go. I don't know when I'm gonna go, but yeah, I don't know. Just gotta really just go back to the drawing board. I think I'm gonna go to Staples and grab some, like, I guess like your regular letter size papers, like 7.5 by 11 or 8.5 by 11. But I am gonna get like even like bigger sheets of paper, so when I print out my designs out of my printer, I can kind of like mock them up myself on the t-shirt to see how they kind of look, if that makes sense. Right now I'm being dragged to get acupuncture. This is my first time ever getting acupuncture. I don't know what to expect. All I know is that there's gonna be like pointy shit being stabbed, and you know, when you're with your girlfriend, or when I'm with my girlfriend in particular, let me know if this is the same for you guys. You can't really say no. You don't really have a choice. It's almost like a dictatorship.
No, you're doing acupuncture and cupping.
Oh yeah, I'm doing acupuncture and cupping, so it's gonna be a little exciting. Yeah, get this all documented hopefully for you guys, and I'll check you guys in a bit. Alright guys, so the place looks a little interesting, so I don't know if I can vlog, and if I can't vlog, I apologize, but if I can vlog, yeah, we'll do it. But if I can't, I'll let you guys know how I feel after. If I get murdered, no one's gonna see this because I won't be able to upload it.
I'm gonna be there with you.
Why is my girl? She's so angry.
I was there last time by myself and you didn't come with me. Wow, you're reading it. I didn't even the right line.
Huh?
I didn't even the right line. Trying to tell them that you're the family. Trying to get a family discount.
I'm gonna circle behind this thing. Emergency contact. Yasmin. Angry. Queen.
Wait, you actually wrote that, bro?
Yeah.
Oh my god, what's wrong with you?
Okay, I'm gonna scratch it. Boy. How do you know the clinic? That was actually kind of interesting. I won't even lie to you. Cupping aftermath right here. What's going on, YouTube? I'm already out. It's a beautiful sunny day in Toronto today, and I'm headed to get my hair cut. That's why I don't have a hat on, and I got this trusty old headband on right now. I also got Tesla autopilot, so I can do shit like this, you know what I mean? And let it steer by itself. Anyways, I'm headed to my barber. He's located on like the west side of Toronto. It's about an hour from where I live, which is why I can't really get haircuts as frequently as I used to get them. On another note, I also wanted to speak about, you know, just being consistent with training, being disciplined with training, because recently I haven't really been feeling too well. Not physically, like I obviously just recovered from illness if you've been watching my other YouTube videos, but like mentally, I feel like sometimes, or even like more recently, like my head hasn't been in the game as much, if you know what I mean. Been just kind of out of it. I used to like wake up every day looking forward to training, but I feel like with all the things going on in my life, with just like managing a 9-to-5 job, with creating content for y'all, creating YouTube videos as well now, and then trying to also build Acreto on the side. It's been really, really taxing, and I think it's kind of burning me out. So with that being said, this question of consistency that I get, you know, people are always saying, oh, like, you know, because I preach about discipline and I preach about being consistent in every aspect of your life, right? Not just the gym. And I get a lot of comments and DMs saying, well, you know, the only reason why you're consistent with training and you're consistent with the gym, why you can be so disciplined with it is because you enjoy it. And I think that's very, very fair. That's a fair assumption. But like, there's gonna be days like today, there's gonna be days like throughout this entire month essentially where I don't want to wake up and train. I don't want to wake up and go to the gym. There are days I don't want to make that hour drive to go see Brian or to see my boxing coach, you know, and essentially kind of get beat up, right? And be completely exhausted only to having to go back to work or come back home to edit content again. So there's just so many things I don't want to do. I'm like being completely authentic with you right now. I'd rather just chill in bed. And as much as I do love training now, it always wasn't the case. But I guess I was able to see just how beneficial it was to me, not only physically, but to me mentally, and how, you know, just being consistent in one aspect of your life, you can kind of learn to, transfer that. Like you can kind of, you know, transfer that to all other aspects of your career, just your life in general, right? Which is why I think it's so important to be consistent in every single aspect of your life. And to anytime you make promises to yourself, right? Like if I made a promise to myself that I'm gonna be training 5 days a week, I'm gonna balance that with creating content, and I'm also gonna be, you know, training to box twice a week. Like this is a pact I made to myself, and this is a promise I made to myself. And I've always said this, right? The worst promises you can break are the ones you make to yourself, right? Because then you're just not holding yourself accountable. That's why I think just being consistent and practicing being consistent is just super duper duper important, because once you kind of understand what consistency and what discipline can kind of do for you, you start to have a realization that there's going to be so many days where you don't want to do something, but it's because you've been so consistent throughout day one till day whatever that you understand that you need to remain consistent, right? It's better to give a little bit on the days you don't want to give at all than to give nothing at all. You know what I mean? But just being disciplined and doing things you don't want to do, practicing doing things you don't want to do. I have conversations all the time. It's like people think I'm born disciplined. No, like that's very unfair. I think I really practiced being disciplined, teaching essentially myself how to stay disciplined, because discipline in itself will eventually lead to you building better habits, right? And at a certain point after you build these habits, is it really discipline anymore, right? These are just habits that you've built. If anything, in my opinion, you need to really build habits by being disciplined, right? I think they say like it takes like 3 weeks or whatever to build a habit. You know, I built a habit. I've built so many good habits because I was able to stay consistent and I was able to stay disciplined. That now I don't even think about it as like, oh, I need to really go to the gym. Like it's just become a part of my daily routine. It's become a habit. It's just easy to me now. I encourage everyone, every young man, every young woman who's watching this video, you need to practice doing things that you don't want to do, because it's so important. You need to practice doing things you don't want to do, right? Because that's the only way you're going to get better. Because you cannot coast through life or only wanting to do things when you want to do them, right? When you do things only when you want to do them, life is easy. You're just coasting. Life is super simple at that point, right? But if you're growing, if you're trying to become better, that's the difference between, I think, you know, being successful and not being successful. Anytime you have a setback, it's like, how are we going to bounce back, right? Do you want to bounce back? I mean, you can easily just quit right now, right? You can just kind of quit and you can, you know, give up. That's the easy way out. You quit, you give up. You don't need to deal with this anymore. Bro, this sun is crazy. Okay, guys. Anyways, I'm about done my chat anyways, and the sun is absolutely destructive. About to park right now, and I will catch you guys in a bit, all right? Deuces. Yeah. You gonna do me right to it? Huh? You gonna fix me up?
Make you look like a bitch.
Like the cut, guys? Connor Royal fades. This is it. I'm walking out with this.
Alright, later, man. Thanks for the camera, man. You think this is a joke, bro?
This is the cut. This is the cut. This is fire. We go to 0 to a 6. 0 to 6. We do 0 here.
It's blessed?
Yeah, it's blessed. Appreciate it. Extra tips for you. What I do, peeps? All right, so back in the office now. I am going to answer all your questions that I missed on the previous episode, or that I was supposed to answer on the previous episode, and I have some new questions as well. But right now, I'm actually just okay. I want to just show you, so give me a sec. So this is designs. These are the designs I'm working on right now. You can see. But let me know what you guys think. This is the blue and red colorway on like a cream shirt. And then we got like just a straight tan colorway. I'll probably overlay this with the actual image so you guys have a better sense of what this is actually going to look like. Because obviously this is a monitor, so you guys can't really see the designs. But let me know what you guys think. I'm obviously gonna have like cut off versions of this too, like tanks. But I really went back to the drawing board because these were my original designs right here. But then I'm like, they look a little tacky. You know, I felt like the designs looked a little. So those were my original designs, but I felt like the designs looked a little too, I guess like they looked a little too tacky. They looked a little too, just not really in my element anymore. So I kind of went back to the drawing board and I really pieced up some other shit. But I think I'm really happy with how this design turned out. So with that being said, yeah, let's see what happens. I think I'm going to start printing out shirts. I'm really aiming for this coming Saturday. So this YouTube is being released on the Friday. And then the next day, basically after I release the YouTube, I'm probably going to go to the shop and print it. I really hope so. If I can just lock down the designs right now. And then for episode 6, you guys are going to be able to see the actual shirts in real time. And then I think I'll be pretty much ready to launch, hopefully. But there's always so many setbacks, so I don't know. Yeah, but I essentially just got back from the gym and I'm just doing all this now. But I have my mic set up and I'm going to go ahead and set up to answer a bunch of your questions. So let's get into that right now, okay? Okay, guys, answering your questions like I promised. In my previous episode, I was supposed to answer a whole bunch of questions, but I really didn't have any time to film it and edit it, so I apologize, but I am going to answer it now. These are questions that I get from my DMs or a Q&A box that I always put up on Instagram, so if you missed this round, don't worry. Go and follow me on Instagram. You can ask me some questions next time. You can always slide in my DMs too. I'll always respond. I promise y'all. But let's get into... Actually, before we even get into the first question here, I wanted to shout out my boy, my homie Juan from Colombia, who he actually visited Toronto this summer, I believe, and he was asking me to work out for the first 4 months. I didn't even open his DM, I didn't even see it. And I feel terrible because he was always messaging me. He was like, yo, let's go work out. And then the last month he was in Toronto, I finally opened up his DM and he was like, yo, let's hit up LA Fitness and whatnot and let's get a workout in. And I was really trying to connect with him and meet with him, but I couldn't. And then he went back to Colombia. But shout out to you, Juan. I know you're always supporting me and I know you're always telling me how much of an inspiration I am to you and how just how you look up to my content and how I just inspire you and how I motivate you. But truth be told, Juan, you motivate me and you inspire me just as much. Seeing you grind, seeing you kind of create content now too. You're doing things that I didn't do and I wouldn't have even dared to do when I was your age. So if this is your passion and this is your dream and you're pursuing it as hard as you're pursuing it, I commend you and I want you to keep going. But he shared a really crazy story about how he's saying how he's working in a call center and he honestly doesn't like it. But he knows that it's part of the process. And at the same time, I'm posting reels every single day. And I'm also made of vlogs filming supercars. And he says, I know that you're busy. Well, it doesn't matter when you see this message. Well, you're the inspiration for thousands of people like me. Please keep going. So when I get messages like that from Juan, from all of you guys, it just reminds me of why I'm doing this. Not only am I doing this for my younger self, but I'm really doing it for everyone who DMs me, everyone who says I inspire them. So I feel like I am really making a change and a positive impact on this world. And I'm kind of, utilizing social media correctly. So I wanted to give you a shout out, Juan. But in relation to what he was saying about how he, works in a call center and whatnot, I just, I said, I regret missing you in Toronto. And the craziest thing is about his story is that I also worked in a call center for about 4 or 5 years, and I absolutely hated every single day of my life in that call center. It's really a common theme with this YouTube video, because I'm always talking about doing things you don't want to do. And as much as I didn't want to work at a call center, and I was also doing ridiculous overtime hours, almost working 70 hours a week, sometimes even 80, I was literally losing my mind. I didn't really know who I was and what I was doing. But I knew I had a common goal of saving up as much money as possible. And at the same time, I was also looking for other opportunities within my company as well. Also pursuing fitness and everything. I knew my call center job was only temporary, but you know what? It was providing me some form of financial stability, no matter how much I hated it. That is something that I had to do for a very, 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 very long time. During that process, right, when I was trying to get out of the call center, I applied to many, like hundreds and hundreds of jobs. Like, you guys couldn't even imagine how many jobs I applied to, and I was rejected from every single one of them until one, right? So it really just takes one. But that's, Juan's example and my example is just a prime example of doing things you don't want to do, but like having your mind and having your sight on a different goal. Like you have your eyes set on a different goal, right? On a different journey. You know that you're destined for more, but at the situation you're at right now, you just have to kind of grind through it and kind of do the thing you don't want to do to kind of get you to where you want to be at, in a few years or in a few months, right? Everyone's timeline is obviously different. For me, it took me, again, 4 or 5 years to get out of that call center job, but every year, every day, every month was a lesson, and it was just a constant reminder of what I didn't want to do in life. And it really taught me like tenacity, you know what I mean? It really gave me it kind of toughened me up a little, because to be able to wake up every single day and then work extreme hours, overtime hours, because you really needed the money, kind of puts into perspective to like what I'm doing now. It really makes me feel grateful, because at any moment I could be back in that stage where I was working at a call center, or even worse, right? My first job was working at McDonald's. But I always say the call center job was much worse. Shout out to you, Juan. And I know you already responded to me, but I just wanted to share this message with you as well. But Juan said, I didn't expect it, that you worked in a call center as well. Amazing people started literally from the scratch. So shout out to you, Juan. I know this is a big, this is a verbal mess right now. Let's get into your questions, okay? Okay, so the first question is, when you record, is it raw or is it scripted? Like, does your videographer tell you what to do? So no, my videographer, like I mentioned in episode 4, is usually just my girlfriend, or more recently, Nico, or my gym bros, and they don't really have, minus Sub, right? Subi obviously has much more camera experience than anyone else that I've ever filmed with, because he's a content creator. He's a content creator himself. So we're always bouncing ideas off each other. We're always sharing knowledge. We both run a Sony camera. So like our knowledge is basically transferable from one camera to another. But no one really tells me, or I don't even tell Sub what to do sometimes. At times, if something really looks good, I may tell him to do it again. Like, for example, like picking up a dumbbell at a certain angle, things like that. But we really go into the gym. But for the most part, like, we go into the gym, we run, whatever, we just work out and we just film it. We just kind of document it. That's the I guess that's kind of how we approach things. We're not scripting anything. And it's the same thing for my boxing workouts and running, but especially for boxing. And shout out to you, Nico, for helping me film and always being available for me. But essentially, I wanted a cameraman just to kind of follow me around, to kind of document my journey in boxing. Because I'm not a good boxer, and it's a very, very difficult sport. And I don't want to be thinking about like what angles to get, if my videographer knows what he's doing or what she's doing, whatever, right? And by all means already, right? He's only been filming for like maybe a month or so, but he's done a tremendous job. So shout out to you again, Nico. I really, really appreciate it. So I hope that answers your question. Just would like to know how you color grade. Okay, well, I can't really answer that question here, because I would need to like literally show you on my like computer, if that makes sense. But with that being said, if you guys really want an in-depth tutorial as to what I color grade with, because I don't color grade from scratch, I actually use Cineprint 35. which is like a form of film emulation, but I do a lot of tweaking into in terms of like adding contrast, the primaries, highlight, shadows, blah 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 blah. And just kind of learning how to use Cineprint is it's not complex, right? But there's a lot of things you can play around with. So I'm happy to like kind of create a separate video on that if you guys want. But comment on the YouTube below that you want to see me teach you guys how to color grade, and I'm more than happy to create a whole separate video on that because I think you guys deserve it, but I want to make sure people want to see it before I actually do it. And what's the best piece of advice you've ever received about fitness? I don't remember who told me this, but I kind of look at like how it's kind of related to how like C-Bum trains, right? If you look at like how C-Bum trains, I don't think he necessarily trains like most optimally. And I think a lot of people get kind of sucked into finding the right program, finding the right routine. They're like almost getting to this like paralysis by analysis, researching, doing all this research on the internet. And there's like just a wealth of information on like all the social media platforms now in terms of what's right and what's wrong. Like you'll get one expert telling you this is right, and you get another expert on the other end telling you, no, he's wrong. And then at that point, it's like, okay, what's right and what's wrong? So the best piece of advice that I got was you just kind of need to find what works for you. And this is in terms of even finding like how many days you want to work out and what the perfect routine is for you, because the perfect routine for you is the one that you're going to stay consistent with, right? Is the one that you're actually going to go through with and be able to execute. Like the best routine for you is the one that you're going to be consistent with for a very, very long period of time. And when I used to coach and when I used to train clients, right, I tell them the exact same thing, right? I think the second piece of advice is I also received that I didn't follow through for like the longest period of time until 2020, was literally all your gains are made in the kitchen. Like I don't know what the number is, like 80 or 70%, whatever it is. But that is so true. Like as soon as I started taking my nutrition seriously, started taking my protein, my macros seriously, I saw the craziest and most significant changes to my body, physically and mentally. At that point, I was actually able to bench 365 pounds. So to me, not being able to, bench the bar once upon a time is absolutely crazy for me to see that I was able to bench 365 pounds, and that 16-year-old Billy would be so effing proud. So I think that's the best piece of advice. Oh, and always just like have fun with it. Everything's like a learning process, right? Even right now when I'm doing boxing, it's fitness, and I love, fighting and boxing and whatnot, but it's a very hard sport, and like my coach is hard on me, and he's like, he's saying all the things that I'm doing wrong, and I get frustrated, but like it's part of the journey, it's part of the process, and I think it's absolutely normal. And you going into the gym is a process. You're going to get frustrated, you're not going to know what to do, but there's always people who are going to be able to help you as long as you kind of reach out to them and ask the question. And I think the fitness community at the end of the day, and as toxic as it can be, I think the fitness community can be a very positive environment for people to grow in and to kind of learn about themselves more. So hope that helps. What camera setup do I use? That's how I know you guys didn't watch my last episode, even though it did the best. Okay, Sony A7 IV that I'm filming on right now. Sony ECM B10 mic, and my lens is a Tamron 28 to 75 mil. If you want a full in-depth like review of my gear, go back to episode 4. Go into the like the timestamps. I literally timestamped for you. You don't even need to watch the whole episode because it's 30 minutes. Just click on the question and you have your answer there. Okay. So that was that. I have some other questions. Shifty Sammy, my man, work-life balance, brother. Firstly, bro, I miss you, man. I still think about the LA trip that I went to and how we went to not Raw, what the fuck? Zoo Culture, excuse me. Now we just kind of kicked it, bro. Like I met you through Instagram, but you were such a vibe, and you were, I think, the first person I met in LA from like Instagram, and then I eventually met like Eli and like everyone else from ASRV and whatnot. But yo, you're super dope. And I miss you, and I really want to come out to LA to chop it up with you, bro. But soon, or you can come to Toronto, if anything. So work-life balance, bro. Shit. I'm going to be fucking real with you, bro. I don't think there is, for me at least, it's really hard to balance a work-life balance. At something right now is taking the hit, and that's probably life, in terms of me seeing friends, me spending more time with my partner, my family. But that's kind of like a sacrifice. And I know it sucks, and it's really, really hard too, because it's like, I never really understood, or I could never really relate to like when Kobe said, like, everyone gets 24 hours in a day. But that's like literally the truth, right? Everyone gets 24 hours a day. You're rich, you're poor, everyone gets 24 hours in a day, and it's up to you to decide what you want to do with that, with the 24 hours. But in terms of like just work-life balance in general, man, I think like time management and having a schedule is very, very important. I think that's one of the things I've kind of grown into much more, and doing and managing my time is like very, very important, because like I said, we only get 24 hours in a day, so you really need to like manage how many hours you sleep. So if you're setting a time to sleep, right, that should be the time you sleep, because that's all the sleep you're going to get, right? And that's the same thing with waking up. Like, you shouldn't really be sleeping past your alarm clock too often. Like, I'm always setting a time to try to sleep before 3 a.m. so I can at least at worst get 5 hours of sleep. And just managing your time in terms of like showing up to places on time, and kind of giving your own schedule like a little flexibility. So what I like to do too is, like with the gym, for example, like I always set 2 hours for the gym, but sometimes I finish the gym, sometimes at an hour and a half, sometimes even like an hour and 10. So then that gives me potentially like 30 minutes or even like 50 minutes to kind of unwind and kind of catch up on other tasks that I don't have time to, like catch up on emails, respond to emails, things like that. It's almost like creating a little buffer. But really just learning how to manage your time, creating a schedule, and really working around it. So just not being late, being as punctual as possible, and being as rigid as you can with your own schedule. This is why I also hate it when people are late, and this is why I hate it when I'm late too. Like, I hate that you're late and now you're screwing up my schedule. So now that I hate that I'm late, because I'm a hypocrite. If I have no right to hate on you if you're late, if I'm late too. You feel me? So that's my best advice with managing work and life. We want a tutorial on how you angle your camera to take videos and the tools you use. Okay, so I can also do a separate video on this, but just to give you the rundown, I guess, right? It's like, how can I say this? So go to episode 4. I'm not gonna go in too much in detail, but go to episode 4, because I answer all the questions there. But essentially, man, just shoot in different angles, like a far to establish a shot, a medium, right, and then a close, and then even like a detail shot, right? If you're running, for example, okay, so running, if you look at most of my running shots, right, I'm always doing multiple angles, right? There's so many ways you can play around with this, right? But like for me, this is what I do, right? I always do a side shot. It could be a medium or a far, right? You can do a back shot. Whoa. You can do a back shot. Pause. Right? If you're running, right, you can even do like a front shot where the camera's kind of like going back that way and you're running towards the camera, right? And you get very detailed shots of like just your upper body running, and then your feet, right, to show the shoes, or even like, the shorts to show off the pants if you're, sponsored by, Gymshark or like ASRV or like whatever, right? So there's multiple ways you can do this, right? Just play with different angles. You really want to be able to tell a story, right? So with running, as an example, like my Mount to Coast campaign, right? I did a whole story about me, just the whole reel is essentially me waking up, getting ready, preparing to train, right? So me getting ready, and then me going to my little area where I was gonna, do my 5K or whatever it was, right? There's a beginning and there's an end, right? The beginning is me getting up, the end is me finishing my jog. So everything in between, it's up to you how you want to tell your story, right? But if you look at that campaign, I'm just shooting a bunch of stuff that you probably do on a day-to-day basis. May you run or not, right? You probably work out in some capacity, but I'm just shooting it in different angles, from far shots to establish the scene to very detailed shots to show something off. So those are the tips that I would kind of incorporate. Now, if you really want like an in-depth tutorial where I'm outside showing you exactly what I kind of do, say no more, comment on the YouTube video below. and I got you guys. Maybe I'll do that with a color grading video as well. Where do we leave off? Okay, so I think there's about 2 more, if I remember correctly. But the first question is, why do you do what you do? Why do you do what you do? Honestly, man, I make content for my younger self. I think my younger self didn't have a lot of mentors, didn't have a lot of people to look up to. Even like in terms of just like representation in like the Asian community, there wasn't really a lot of like creators. There weren't a lot of like athletes that I looked up to outside of like Jeremy Lin, and even Yao Ming. But like, it was hard for me to relate to Yao Ming because as much as I loved and played basketball, I was not 7'6", bro. I was 5'11", and that's it. But that's kind of why I do it, because I do it for my younger self, but I also do it because I know there's just so many young men, young kids out there who are in a similar position as me when I was at that age. Kind of just feeling lost, having no type of guidance, not really knowing what they want to do with their life. And I'm here to try to like be a little positive blip in this world, and to kind of like just help you guys navigate through life as much as I can. Obviously, I want to be like a source of inspiration, motivation to kind of get you in the gym, kind of get your life right, kind of get you healthy and active. You know what I mean? Because I think health for me is very, very important. But a very sensitive story that I actually didn't really think of even sharing until I saw this question, but when I was in grade 6, I remember coming home from school and I went into my brother's room to like play my computer games and whatnot. And my mom came home and she told me she had cancer. So like at that point, I mean, like, I don't even know how old I was at that point, but I remember I was in grade 6 and she was telling me she had cancer, and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna lose my mother. Like, what am I gonna fucking do? I'm about to lose my mom. Because like, to me, cancer at that point was like 100% death rate, like in my mind, right? I was like a young buck. I didn't know too much about like shit like that. So I was devastated, and honestly, even like speaking about it right now, it kind of brings back those like feelings of like not even just anxiety of like it's just like fear and like being scared. Literally my hands are like sweaty right now. But that's why I try to invite so many people to live a healthy lifestyle, because my mom, she didn't focus on that, right? So she immigrated to Canada from China, and all she really did was work. She didn't make time to like, be physically active. She didn't make time to, go see the doctors and whatnot. And so I kind of healthcare is fucking free in Canada, but she didn't even make the time to go see the doctors and try to take a proactive approach to this whole situation prior to her getting cancer. Like, that news, obviously, like as a kid, was devastating. So that really left a mark on me. And I think like I just from that point on, I guess like I always loved being active and playing sports anyways. But when I played sports and when I played, when I was like, being competitive, for me, it was enjoyable because I was just running around and just letting loose and letting go of my energy. Right. And I just loved like the competitive aspect of being active and playing basketball. But when that happened, that kind of brought me to like the whole other side of being active, which is like just being healthy in general, which is why I prioritize health so effing much. But from that point on, I really understood like you really got to take care of yourself. Like you have one body, you have one life. Like you can eat McDonald's every day, you can eat processed foods every day, and just slowly see your life slip away from a health standpoint. And if that's what you want, then that's what you want. But I knew that's not what I wanted. And if I ever wanted a family growing up, I wouldn't want to put my kids through that. It's just like I want to be as healthy as possible for my kids so they can see their dad growing up. They have a father figure present. And that's more so kind of my mentality now. But growing up, I didn't want any disease, and I didn't want anyone in my family to have any disease. So I was always like trying to stress the importance of being active. It might have not been the gym at that point, but it might have been like walking. It might have been a little bit of running, right? Or just even like doing a few squats every day. So that's kind of why I do what I do now, right? I just want to motivate people to kind of pursue their dreams and to pursue their own passions, and to kind of let people know, like, you don't really necessarily need to know what you're doing today, but you need to take every single action to try to try to figure that out, and to try to learn more about yourself. And that's very much so what I did in terms of creating content. And I hope to inspire people, and I hope to motivate people to, just be the best version of themselves. Conway says, where do I start? I want to better myself, but I'm always afraid I'll fail. I always quit before I start. Like, there isn't a right time. Sometimes there's never going to be the right opportunity. Like, life isn't going to be waiting for you to take action. You just need to start, like, today. Like, that saying, the best time to start was yesterday. It's very true. Like, there are many times, even with like fitness and just content creation in general, I was so afraid of failing in the gym. I was so afraid of, messing up, embarrassing myself, not like, feeling like, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't want to be judged for how skinny I was, all these things. And I think like having that fear is good, because you kind of need to feel that way in order to start to begin with, right? But at the same time, like, you just need to start, and you kind of just need to get over it in a way, and you need to just kind of fail as you learn, fail as you go, right? Tying this back to content, right? And fitness, I was always like, I want to do this, but I was like, okay, well, what if this, what if that, like, what if what if my friends judge me? What if people I know, they start making fun of me? What if I get judged? What if this? What if that? I guess like one really big thing that like kind of like pushed me over that edge is like, why am I letting these people dictate how I want to live my life, right? Like, if, I don't know, dude over there is making fun of me, filming content, like, why am I letting him dictate how I want to live my life? Like, this is what I want to do, and this should be it. Crazy story, actually, okay? And we're boys now. But when I first started filming content back in, I think, like 2021, I brought like a tripod and like an iPhone to the gym, and I was just like shooting, like, none of this like cinematic shit, obviously, at that point, but I was just like filming me working out. I think I was deadlifting. And obviously, like, I was really new to it, so I was very scared in kind of doing all of this. And I kid you not, okay, 3 years later, okay, I had some guy come up to me in the gym, same gym, but obviously now I was a lot bigger on social media. I had like multiple sponsorships and whatnot. And he came up to me, he's like, yo, I just wanted to say, like, keep doing your shit. Like, I remember when you first came to the gym, I was like, yo, who's this fucking kid, bringing a phone and a tripod to the gym? Like, who does he think he is? But now, and then he goes on to say, like, but now, like, I see like what you were trying to do, and like now, like, you're kind of popping off and stuff, right? He's like, so like, I respect it. And like, it just goes to show, like, at that point, had I kind of let my fear of being embarrassed, or fear of failing in this case, right, kind of take over, had I let other people's opinion of me, filming and posting content get at me, right, and to really impose their thoughts on me and to affect me in that way and impact me in that way, I wouldn't be in this seat right now talking to you, trying to inspire you to pursue whatever the fuck you want to pursue, pursuing whatever dreams you want to pursue, whatever passions you want to pursue, right? It shouldn't ever be down to anyone to dictate how you want to live your life. Like, real fucking shit. People are always going to judge. People are always going to hate, and people will always have something to say. Like, Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, they're fighting tomorrow, as a prime example, right? How many people like talk shit about Jake Paul? And at the end of the day, Jake Paul's making like how many millions doing this, right? He's doing what he wants to do. He's living the life he wants to live. And people are still got shit to say, right? If you were in his position, right? If you were in Jake Paul's position, fighting for a living, and he seems to be very much so enjoying the sport of boxing, making tons of money, living in a beautiful place in Puerto Rico, and just having, a magnitude of businesses and just wealth in general. Like, at that point, would you care about like what other people think about you, right? Realistically, probably not. And you're probably not going to be there day one, but if you kind of make these slow, gradual steps into pursuing what you want to pursue, you will get there. So having this fear that you're going to fail is normal, but you need to kind of like have self-dialogue. You need to kind of just talk to yourself about how you can kind of overcome that fear, right? And for me, I was, even right now, I'm still afraid to fail, even with building my own clothing brand and building Acreto. But I can't let that stop me. I think fear, like having a fear of failure is completely normal, but you still need to find a way to put your foot on the pedal and to move forward. And just kind of understand that you're going to fail no matter what. Like no matter what you do or don't do, you're going to fail at like all these various steps in life, right? So you might as well just roll with the punches and kind of get better at failing, kind of get better in learning how to fail and learning how to like learn from your failures. So that is my answer to that. And I think that's the last question. So I hope that really helps, man. I really want you guys to, especially like the young bucks listening to this, I really want you guys to like absorb it, man, and like feel the passion that I'm speaking with right now, and feel like just feel what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Because it's really coming from the bottom of my heart, because I've lived through this. I've literally lived through all of this, and I know exactly how you're feeling. And I want to tell you right now, it's so much better on the other side when you just decide to go, when you just decide to take that jump and take that step. It's so effing scary, I know. But once you do it, man, and once you do it, and once you kind of just understand, like maybe it's really not that bad, the other side is so much better. You become such a better person. And you kind of just feel like you're unstoppable. You know failure is going to come, but you know how to navigate it. So just do you, man. Don't let anyone dictate how you want to live your life. Acknowledge that there's a fear of failure. Just acknowledge it, but just make the choice to roll with it. Hope that helps, guys. That is the end of YouTube. Acreto's ramping up, man. I'm really excited to show you guys the final products and whatnot. And yeah, I appreciate all your support, all the subs. Almost at 1,000 subs, coming a long way. So we'll see what happens. Jake Paul or Mike Tyson? Let me know what you think, chat. Have a good night, guys.